Hi, thanks for watching. I'm going to share with you some information about the course that I'm going to be doing in Chicago in November called A Simple, Predictable Technique to Open VDO, Change Occlusion, and Build Long-Lasting Cosmetic Restorations. This is a course that I've been doing for a long time, but every time I do it, I update it in a way that I think makes it more practical and it helps practices, of course, dentists, to be able to help more patients because we can use composite in a very conservative way that is easy to do, that doesn't require lots of layering, so that you end up with something that can be a dramatic change, whether it's for small design or whether it's for changing occlusion or for both. So I'm going to try to run through 4 cases here pretty quickly since we don't want to hold you up too much to show you some of the things that you're going to learn. You're going to learn more than this, but these are some of the things. So uh, if we take a case like this where we've got a lot of wear, obviously some other things going on too, but we're going to focus on the wear here. This case was done in a technique that I call transitional bonding, which is one material all the way through, no layering of materials. We're not trying to achieve ultimate aesthetics. I'm not worried about, the finer things we can do with incisal translucency and such. So here you can see I've built up the upper 8 anterior teeth. The lower canines have been restored as far as the wear, and built up the buccal cusp on the next 3 posterior teeth on each side. So we've got a situation that allows us to have better results. So in the course, to be able to understand how a case like this is done and be able to do it yourself, we want to start with smile design. So I know you've all taken courses on smile design, but what I want to try to do here is give you something that's different, that's practical, that allows you to understand without having to be like an artistic whiz, to be able to come up with a big change like this, not just to make a person smile a little better, but to be able to actually give them the best smile possible for their case. So it's got to start with smile design. And I have 4 very unique ratios that I recommend. One is common, it's the width to length proportion of the centrals. The others are things that I've never heard anybody else talk about that I really think make it an easy job to come up with the best smile design. And then from there, I'll talk about how to make sure we can communicate that information to a lab, to be able to tell them exactly how to do a wax up for you. We'll also even talk about doing this sort of lab work yourself by using composite on a model, which actually can build some skills. Um, I'm here showing you the buildup of the lower teeth from a lateral view because it's a little hard to see from the facial, and just the general idea of what we're trying to do here. And of course, the technique for actually uh, creating the composite restorations on the teeth is something that will be covered as well. And you'll be able to do that in hands-on exercises because about half of the 2-day course is hands-on, stuff that's really practical and should allow you to begin doing this treatment in your office right away. If we look at another case, this is not an unusual type of case where somebody maybe would consider doing porcelain on the upper teeth, but still need to open the vertical to create a better occlusion. I mean, if you look at this guy, he's got an end-to-end situation now. He's worn his teeth down to the point where his vertical is collapsed, his mandible is closing more. Um, as the mandible closes, not only does it move higher in the as the upper teeth are worn, but it also moves forward because it's on a hinge. It just doesn't go straight up and down. So to restore a case like this, most dentists would probably send the patient to the orthodontist first and create some space by retruding the lower teeth and all of that. That is completely unnecessary. The thing to do really is just to be able to build back that vertical and create a more of a class 1 occlusion again. I mean, diagnosing this case included some perio options for him, but considering the smile design and determining what was going to be done there was the first stage. I always start with smile design, then I figure out the functional aspects of a case, and it's not because the aesthetics is more important than function. It's just because that's a simpler way to approach a complex case. So the function is just as important, but it's easier to, come up with a good treatment plan with ideal aesthetics when you start with the aesthetic design. So this is how he ended up with porcelain veneers on upper 12 teeth. Bonding, you can see that transitional bonding doesn't match perfectly. The idea here is it doesn't really have to look perfect because it's intended mostly to restore either the basic smile design or function. Obviously on lower teeth, it's more for function. But this allowed us to open the vertical in a way that now we have overlap or little overjet, a little overbite. And so he's got a normal class 1 occlusion again with incisal guidance and canine guidance, which I'll briefly talk about in a minute. So, you know, obviously, I think we all would expect porcelain restorations to last a while. This is a 5-year post-op, but the porcelain, you know, can really last a long time too. Now, this is just a few weeks after when the case was photographed for a follow-up. At 5 years, we have had a little change. We've had some of the composite that was placed on one of these cast gold crowns pop off completely. You know, when that happens on one tooth, what happens to that tooth? Well, it'll super erupt a little bit, probably end up being an occlusion, but you can also see just a little bit of damage that's happening on some of the other cusp tips. But remember, even though these cusp tips are built up in composite, when a patient has a good occlusion so that when they go into protrusive or right or left lateral, you know, as they're chewing and biting into things, there's posterior disclusion. So even a bruxer like this, he is wearing a nighttime appliance too, but even a bruxer can function really well on these kind of restorations. So, you know, patient, you know, potentially could afford to do upper restorations in porcelain, but maybe really needs the lowers than 2. And if they had to pay porcelain there as well, they couldn't afford it. So this is a really nice option for these combo cases. Just showing again how the lowers were built up, and I can build, you know, composite on top of as well as gold crowns, porcelain crowns, and amalgam restorations. You can definitely have something that can last a long time. And in case you thought maybe those teeth were looking a little too big in those close-ups, they really do fit his face. This case is another interesting one that I use to show lots of interesting things. We'll obviously not have a lot of time today to cover everything you'll learn in the course. But if you look at this guy who bruxed his teeth to the point where he's lost a couple of millimeters on those anteriors, you can tell he's got, you know, still some overjet and overbite. But if you look at that canine, you know, with the crown here on it, I mean, look what's happened to this lower tooth. I think I've got a lateral view here, and you can see that that lower canine has just been pretty much destroyed by the upper crown. Not that all his teeth aren't being destroyed over time, but the crown, you know, doesn't wear, so the opposing tooth gets all the wear. So this is a case that really needed to have vertical increased to be able to restore his case. So by building up, you know, the cusp tips in a way that's very, very systematic, and again, the whole idea here is to do this in a way that we can build with composite to increase VDO. And most of the time when I'm doing this, certainly not every case, maybe 20-25% of cases that I'll do that are large cases will get some increase in VDO. It's mostly to modify the overjet and or overbite. And if you think about how you know, the mouth works with the mandible hinged on the at the condyle, you know, when the teeth open and the mandible drops, it's not just dropping straight down, it's dropping down and back. Again, it's the opposite of what I mentioned earlier, talking about when teeth wear, they come up and forward. So they're dropping down and back, and that increases overjet. So if you've got a patient who's already class 1 and function okay, that's probably not a big deal. But certainly if you have a patient who's end to end, it really can become advantageous. It's also nice if you've got a lack of space posteriorly, especially to restore teeth. It could be even on anterior teeth if there's a lot of erosion and such, and the teeth have super erupted. And you can even improve facial aesthetics with this technique. So looking to see how this case was handled. This really is a full mouth rehab, all in composite. I mean, I've got the upper teeth where it's on the facial and lengthening the upper teeth. The lower canine that was so severely worn here is now built up. Again, this is transitional bonding. I'm not really trying to worry about it blending here. It doesn't show when he smiles anyway. The upper teeth, we definitely extended the margins a little further up to blend in. His smile line, fortunately, is low enough to cover the darkest area here. So again, transitional bonding is not meant to be the most beautiful restoration. It's meant to be a very practical, more affordable restoration for patients that still want to take care of damage to their teeth. And if you wonder how that would hold up, this is a 4-year post-op, and you can see, a little chip here. You can see wear facet here, though. I mean, this guy is wearing a nighttime appliance, but he's functioning on these teeth. And so it is going to wear down over time. But until he's completely worn through this composite, he can't damage his existing teeth anymore. His natural teeth are still going to be intact under these restorations, which, by the way, you'll learn how to do with virtually no prep. Last case I'm going to share with you here is a case that I think is very common where you got upper porcelain restorations on teeth already, lower teeth, especially if the patient's a bruxer, just aren't going to be able to survive, with opposing porcelain. And so you see this sort of damage. I mean, in this case, the patient's even wearing down old porcelain crowns, but really destroying these teeth. One of the other nice things I really think is important about doing composite restorations in certain cases is that we don't have to worry about them destroying the opposing natural teeth. Porcelain restorations are great, but nothing is perfect. And one downside to porcelain opposing natural teeth is that something like this can happen. But it can be rebuilt. Again, the technique that we talk about and you'll learn how to use in this course will show you with one layer with same material from the lingual to the facial, blending it in onto the facial surfaces, going over the cuss tip just a little bit. You can see here these teeth are not completely covered on the occlusal. And this is done in a very practical, systematic way so that these posterior teeth can be built up. I mean, the dream one day is to have like an injectable system. I know these injectable systems are being tried out and are being promoted, but they just are not catching on and don't have any holding power because they're not accurate enough, or the downside is you bond all the teeth together. This is a technique that allows you to do this in a really practical, systematic way so you can end up with nice results. So we talk about anterior guidance, including the guidance path and how you can lengthen teeth in a way that is going to be something that will function and last a long time. That's both incisal guidance, canine guidance are considered here, and well as making sure we end up with posterior disclusion, and then of course building up posterior cusp in the back. And just one point here that I'll end on is so that when you open the vertical posteriorly by building up the buccal cusp, and if you want to gain contact, centric stops on the anterior teeth, you might think, well, let's just, restore the wear that's occurred and we'll build it up that way. But I hardly ever use that technique. And there's very important reasons for why that happens, which we'll talk about on the course. You could build up the facial like this, but that's got some downsides too. The easiest way actually is just to extend the cingulum, add some volume with the composite on the upper teeth. So at the same time you're building the incisal edge, you're adding to the cingulum, and this creates the centric stop in a very predictable and practical way. So one advantage too is it actually reduces the angle of the guidance path so that it's less likely that people will have any difficulty adjusting to that change. So I hope to see you at the course. If you have any questions about this at all, please, you feel free to email me, or you can email Erica at the Center for Aesthetic Excellence. And we're going to have a great 2 days of this course. Thanks.